What's up everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at this brand new Buick Encore. And the model that we're looking at today is the GX Essence all-wheel drive, finished off in ebony twilight metallic. It has the sport touring package and an MSRP at $36,000. Underneath the hood of this all-new Buick Encore, you're going to find a 1.3-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine. This motor pumps out 155 horsepower with 174 pound-feet of torque. It's paired to a 9-speed automatic transmission and sends the power to all 4 wheels. However, it can go between front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive with a touch of a button. It runs on a 13.2-gallon fuel tank and can achieve 26 miles per gallon in the city with 29 on the highway, and it can even tow up to 1,000 pounds. Curb weight is 3,200 pounds, and then overall wheelbase is 102.2 inches with length at 171 inches. Overall height is 64 inches, and then width is 71. And then now moving on to the styling with this Buick Encore. It's a sporty little luxury-focused crossover SUV with some pretty sharp lines. Looking at the headlights now, they have a nice blacked out housing with a little bit of chrome trim. You can see the LED DRL up top, and then right in the center there's a chrome trim piece that cuts its way right into the grille. I love this dark red accent all throughout the mesh along with the gloss black. You can see the Buick logo with a forward-facing camera. The grille really comes together nicely. There's a sharp line underneath that with all of your parking sensors, and then on the farthest side you can see the turn signal as well as an LED fog light and a nice duct to allow air to enter the bumper. You use some nice curved lines throughout the lower portion of this front bumper, and then a pretty aggressive front splitter. You can see more of the red trim in the lower grille and then openings to allow cool air to get to that intercooler. Has a pretty cool look up front with some nice sharp lines, and I especially love the center one that leads its way into the hood. You can see how the really sharp lines on the farthest sides flow their way right into the windshield, and it comes together to give it a pretty sporty look up front. If we go ahead and move our way to the side profile, this gets a 2-tone set of wheels. They are 18 inches in diameter, and you can see just how they're laid out. You can see a parking sensor on the side with more body color trim all around this front fender. You get more of that trim in the lower side, and then a really sloping line going through these doors. The door handles have a 2-tone color with some chrome and body colored, and then you get body colored for the side mirrors. There's an integrated camera underneath, and then a nice chrome trim piece on the upper portion of these windows. You get a blacked out B and C pillar, and then more of this aluminum color for the roof rails and a shark fin antenna. I like how that chrome trim even cuts its way all the way into the back to kind of separate the roof. And then the overall side profile is super proportional. There's a really sharp body line going from the front end, and then it kind of disappears towards the center of the car, and then it picks back up above these rear fenders. Has a really nice design. I like all the sharp lines throughout this Buick. Then if we make our way to the rear end, you can see an integrated spoiler up top. We get the third brake light as well as a camera. Then the LED taillights, finished off with red, really smooth the way they're designed. We get the ST badge over on the right side. Really clean lines going through this entire liftgate with your Buick logo in the center. Then Encore GX all-wheel drive over on the left. You can see your reflectors in the lower portion with more of your parking sensors. That same red trim is back here. And I like the detail with these shark fins in the bottom of the diffuser and the nice trim pieces on the farthest side. Once again, the styling really does come together, gives it a nice and sporty look. So there's a good look at this Buick Encore. Pretty sporty looking, a little crossover. You can tell it is definitely a smaller vehicle, but it really does come together with a nice style. We have Buick's key fob. It looks pretty cool with the Buick logo right in the center. That is your lock button. We also, of course, can unlock the car. It does have the button on the side. You can lock and unlock it as well. But with that said, let's check out this interior. This particular spec gets the Signet with ebony accents throughout the interior. You can see that brown and black color contrast. Taking a look at the door panel now, finished mostly in the black color. And then we have this brown with some nice stitching. There's some soft padding for your armrest, a grab handle, all the window controls and mirror controls. Your release handle is above that with lock and unlock. Then we even get the memory seating. There's a button on the lower side for the automatic tailgate where you can adjust that, and we even get some storage. We get a nice Buick badge on this door sill, and then power controls on the left side of the seat. I really do like the 2-tone color, especially with the perforated design in the center of the seats. It makes its way all the way up the backrests. The 2-tone looks nice and sporty. And if we go ahead and take a look at the steering wheel, we get the Buick logo in the center, some polished trim, and white stitching. And then now inside, keeping my foot on the brake, we can go ahead and fire it up. A 3-cylinder engine will roar to life. All the screens turn on as well. Then we can take a look at the gauge cluster, where you're going to see an LCD display right in the center, analog tack on the left with your fuel, and then your speedometer and engine temperature over on the right. The center screen you can adjust. You can use the buttons on the right side of the steering wheel to adjust what you see. If I just go ahead and scroll to the right, you can see information and easily scroll down and see lots of different things within the car. This car does get much better gas mileage than it's rated at. Seems like it's been averaging much higher into the low 30s. Driver's assistance, you have audio that pops up, navigation and phone, and then a few settings where you can adjust some things within this car. On the left side of the steering wheel, we get some of your cruise control settings with distance pacing and heated steering wheel, and then some Bluetooth controls. Volume button is on the back side of the steering wheel, and then track button is on the back on the other side. We also get your turn signal stock over on the left side with your automatic headlights. Then you can see windshield wiper controls on the right stock. In the lower area, you can see your headlight controls, interior dimming, as well as your fog lights, and then all of your heads-up display controls. The info button in the center is pretty nice to where you can adjust what you see. If I go ahead and toggle this, you can see your speed as well as navigation. You can get that gone. You have a nice tachometer, which is a pretty cool touch, and then back to the main screen with your speed and radio control. You can see one of the air vents and then black trim going across the dashboard. You have this nice synthetic leather material, then a cool silver texture on this gloss piece of trim. You can see some more of that brown going all across this dashboard. Has a pretty nice design. And then we get the infotainment screen, which is pretty similar to every other GM vehicle. We have shortcuts down below. You can easily go into all of your climate control settings. You have your home icon again. You can swipe over and see all sorts of different things within the car. So it's super easy to adjust everything. If I go ahead and put the car into reverse now, your backup camera pops up over on the right side with top down on the left. You can easily adjust to your front view camera. You can also adjust more of a fisheye. You can take a look closer at your front and rear wheels. Guidelines you can turn on and off, and then you can make this just a full screen. So I really like how everything is laid out. Going back into park, underneath that we do get a physical home control, as well as your volume, track buttons, as well as a back, and then physical climate controls down below. We do get a dual zone temperature. You can easily adjust this, and it comes up on the screen whenever you make any sort of adjustment. You get your fan speed icon right up top to adjust that, your different zones. You have defrost as well as heated seats, your sync button, and then on off and AC on the left. Underneath that, we do get some storage as well as USB ports and some auxiliaries and a nice wireless phone charging pad. Then we get shortcuts to parking sensors, traction control, lane keeping assist. You have your start stop as well as your 4-wheel drive control. You can see the shifter with 2 cup holders as well as a ton of storage space. Then you can open up the center. You have a small tray up top. You can remove this, and it's actually a pretty deep storage space. So nice to see that kind of storage. And then taking a look over here, the glove box is a pretty large bucket, as you would expect. And then one last look at the interior. Pretty nice in here. It's a smaller car, like I've mentioned, but I think the use of materials is pretty good to where it does come together to be a pretty nice little car to be in. And then taking a look at the rear seat space, if I grab the door handle and open it up, the door panel's finished off just like we saw up front, and then in the rear seats, you even get all these same materials, same color. This is a 3-person bench row. You can pull this down. We get a nice armrest as well as 2 cup holders, and then the headrests even fold down for better driver visibility. And then we get some storage up front and then a USB port down below. All right, so sitting now in the back of this Buick Encore, you can tell this is kind of a small SUV, but it's actually not that bad sitting back here. The recline angle is decent to where I'm actually pretty comfortable. Good armrests in it, and you get pretty good sized glass to where you don't feel like you're in a claustrophobic tiny little car. 5'11" sitting here with plenty of headroom and even knee room with the driver's seat set at my height. This is actually pretty useful. Now there's no climate vents back here, so that's kind of a downfall. However, we do get the dome light and the grab handles, but overall for being a smaller SUV, it's nice to see the space. Moving on to the cargo area, you can just double tap the button on the key fob. There is one on the liftgate and of course that one on the interior, and that'll automatically open nicely. I really like how the floor is the same height as the back area, so it's easier to load items. You can see it's nice and squared off to be pretty useful. I think they've maximized cargo area pretty well in this. We do also get a removable cargo cover. And then after manually folding down the rear seats, you can see just how much more storage space you're gonna get in this little Buick. And then if I grab this handle and lift this up, we get a ton of extra storage space along with the spare tire and some of the hardware. So it's nice to see that hidden storage space in this car. If we go ahead and go through the side, the seats do fold down nice and flat, and you have a very large opening into that trunk area, and then a ton of space even up in front of these seats. All right, guys, so we are gonna set off now in this Buick Encore, getting up to speed. So on the fly, you can just tap the all-wheel drive button and turn it into all-wheel drive or go into two-wheel drive, which of course is gonna be front-wheel drive on this car. I like that way that you can just kind of go back and forth like that real quick, depending on the circumstances. So we have a 1.3 liter 3-cylinder engine, very, very tiny little motor on this car with a little turbo on it. It's not bad. I mean, obviously you're not gonna get in this and think it's a fast car or anything like that. It gets up to speed. I mean, it'll get up to about 50 without really thinking too much. So it's not crazy when you give it some gas. It carries its weight decently. It's not really that bad. And of course, it does get much better gas mileage than I was expecting. I'm getting over 30 miles per gallon if I scroll through and look and everything. The average is about 30 right now, so it gets better than it's rated, as long as you're not really trying to floor it or anything like that, but at least it does get up to some speed. So this is kind of a baby luxury car. You know, Buick is more of a luxury brand. It's not exactly a top tier luxury brand like Cadillac would be, but it does have a nice aspect to it with some luxury features. When you are driving in this car, it's decently refined. The engine's a little noisy, so especially when you're getting up to speed, you can kind of hear it a little bit. But once you're cruising, it's pretty comfortable and quiet. You know, this could just be a good point A to point B car that has some decent refinements to it. Really good visibility, as you can see, with a large windshield. Of course, I love how GM always does these rear view mirrors with the camera system. That is super awesome. Mirrors do a great job. Visibility honestly is great, and being a smaller crossover, the rear end is really close to where you just feel like you can see around this car so nicely. Suspension absorbs bumps very well. It's really comfortable to be in. You don't really hear the wind noise or anything like that. I mean, it is just kind of a normal, comfortable car. The seats are okay. They're decently comfortable. I wouldn't mind a little bit more contours to them. The bottom is kind of flat, and obviously people's bodies aren't exactly flat on the bottom, so it'd be nice to have a little bit of an indentation to sit into the seat rather than just sitting on top of the seat. So they're all right. You do have some good adjustments to it. You do feel kind of high up though in the car, which I'm sure for people buying this car, they probably like that just to give them that better view. But I wouldn't mind a little bit more ergonomics to these seats to fit the human body just a tad better. But overall, you know, not a bad little car. And the price point, you know, 36 grand, that's like 10 grand below the average price of a new car. So honestly, this thing is really cheap to get into. And I can just see this just being a nice, comfortable, you know, small crossover with enough space and enough technology and refinements to feel like you're in something above the Chevy version of this. So it has a nice bit of refinements to it, and it's pretty comfortable. All right, so spinning around to my perspective, what do I really think it's like to drive in this little Buick? You know, it's kind of just a normal car. I wouldn't say anything really stands out about it to make it like above and beyond or anything like that. This is an extremely competitive market. Crossovers are kind of the biggest sellers right now in the country, and especially smaller crossovers for people just kind of getting point A to point B cars. It's really, really competitive. Every single car maker makes something to compete with this. So with this one, you know, it's a little bit nicer than the Chevy version is going to be, and I guess the Cadillac XT4 is going to be the nicer version of this, which we've had on the channel before. That one, I think you get the 4-cylinder in it. So this one, kind of a little bit detuned with the smaller engine comparing to a Cadillac version, but you know, it's okay. It's pretty comfortable. Hasn't been bad to drive it, just kind of using it to drive and put miles on. And I feel like that's kind of the biggest thing that people are going to buy this for, is just to put miles on it, get good gas mileage, be higher up than in a small car, and have better cargo area and space like that. So I think that's kind of the selling point with a Buick like this. The engine, it does pack a decent punch for being so tiny. It'll be interesting to see how well a 3-cylinder can actually do long term. Like, can this be a reliable engine? But with it, you know, I think it's got at least enough power to get it up and going. And it's interesting to see how engine technology is giving you such a small little motor that's pretty efficient, that can do a lot, and yet it's just a small little motor. I don't know if there's more technology options. There's no blank switches in this. However, you really just have the lane keeping. There's no like steering intervention, so it kind of just, it'll help you get back into the lane. It doesn't really steer for you. So it would be nice to see that. Maybe the Cadillac version is the one that gets the extra technology, but I feel like a car like this, at least for the price point, I mean, it's hard to forget that this is a very affordable car to buy, but it has enough technology. We have the forward collision warning, the radar cruise control, sensors, camera. I mean, the 360 camera is really nice. So you have pretty much all the technology you would expect in a car like this. So really can't complain, especially with the price point. You kind of just get a perfect little compact car to get. And like I said, it's obviously a competitive market, but this is one to look at. You know, it does give you the efficiency, the technology. It's decently comfortable and quiet in here, so it's not a bad option. And I think the styling is something that might be a little bit above and beyond if you compare it to other brands, because for this price point, you can probably buy like a basic brand like a Ford, a Toyota, Honda, something like that. And yet the Buick brand, you know, is a little bit higher than those as far as the luxury goes. So I think maybe the people buying this, probably older demographic, I would assume, is who's buying this. They're probably going to like that aspect. But that's my thoughts on this new Buick Encore. Pretty nice little compact. If you're in the market, definitely put one on your list. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for plenty more content to come, and I'll see you guys in the next video.